Hello everyone, welcome back to Synced Up. I'm your host Sabrina and I'm energized today. I am ready to fucking go. So there's a few things that I want to talk about. One of them is body image and Adderall. You might think, how are these two tied together? They are. But I wanted to start off with a little story from this weekend. It's a fun story. I just think it really shows how when you surrender to the outcome, when you let go of attachments and expectations, the universe will surprise you in really cool, fun ways. And I wanted to highlight this idea, principle, concept with a going out story from this weekend. So I'm someone who likes to go out. I mean, I also stay in quite a bit. I don't know. I like to go out, I like to have fun, but I also like to stay in. You feel me? So this weekend, I went out with my friends and I wasn't able to go out the weekend before for my birthday because I had strep and COVID. So I was like, you know what? I don't really care what we do. I just want to have fun. And that's usually my intention when I go out is don't really care what we do, but I just want to have fun. And whenever you go into something with the intention of just having fun, whether that's a project, a date, going out, if your intention is to just have fun, you cannot go wrong. That's also just side note, quick tangent, but when people tell me that like when my friends are about to go on a date, or I get a comment on TikTok about people saying like, how do you go on dates without having like major anxiety? And I mean, for a while, I mean, it's kind of like practice. Like it's definitely nerve-wracking in the beginning to go on dates. I'm not gonna lie. But the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it, whatever. But when I switched my mindset around it from, oh my God, I wonder if they're gonna like me, or I wonder if I'm gonna be weird, or is it gonna be awkward, or whatever. My intention going into it is literally just to have fun, to be open to being surprised, to learn something new about someone else, but ultimately just to have fun. And you really can't go wrong. So my intention was, oh my God, let me say it take a shot every time I say fun. Anyway, I'm not even gonna say it again. So I met my friends, we started at Ludlow House and it was really fun. We just got some drinks, caught up and vibed. And earlier this night, my friend texted me this flyer of an event that he was going to, and it looked like so much fun. And this friend always goes to just the coolest, most interesting events. And so when he sent this to me, I was like, oh my God, I want to go. But on the flyer, there was like a note and it said wristbands required. So I was like, okay, how does one acquire a wristband? And he was like, oh, I don't know. I actually have like no details on it because his friend had given him or had invited him. So then he was like, okay, well, let me see if I can get you in. Is it just gonna be you? And I was with like 5 or 6 other girls and I was like, oh fuck, like, I don't think it's looking very good. I mean, I'm with a bunch of other girls and he was like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough. I would be able to get you in, but I don't know about a whole group. So I told him, I was like, you know what? It's fine. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And I've noticed this a lot with going out. When I put a lot of pressure on something that I want to do or a person that I want to see, I almost like it creates resistance to what I want. And then it actually pushes it away and it never works. So I've gotten into the habit of just with going out, surrendering to the outcome and just thinking like, okay, and it's easy for me to surrender in these situations because I've had so much practice now. And I've really noticed like when I do surrender, things just work out. So I knew, and also when your intention is to just have fun, you can't go wrong. And the universe wants you to have fun. So it's going to do whatever it can to make sure that that happens. So I really trusted. I was like, okay, if I'm meant to go to this event or whatever, then it'll happen and I'll go. And if not, then something better is gonna come along because my intention for the night was to just have fun. And I trust that I'm gonna be guided towards whatever path that is. So anyway, I take that and I'm like, okay, maybe we'll go to this, maybe we won't, whatever. There's like a couple other parties that I heard about and other things to do. So I wasn't that stressed. I was like, we have multiple options, which is nice because we also live in an abundant universe. So take this principle and apply it to literally anything in your life with going out, dating, jobs, whatever. So we're at Ludlow, and then my other friend texted me and was like, Sabrina, what are you doing tonight? Like, let's link. And he is so much fun. Like, he also has, oh my God, now I'm realizing as I'm talking about this, because I set the intention to have fun, all these people who literally go to the best parties and events were reaching out to me, which didn't even realize. But see, your intentions and your energy that you put out really is what comes back to you. So he texted me and he was like, let's link, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, I would love to. So anyway, that was like also then another option for like a party that we could go to. And then I was texting this guy that I have a crush on, and we were talking about our plans, and he was like, I'm going to this thing in Chelsea. Do you know about it? And I was like, oh my God, I was gonna potentially go, but the group that I'm with keeps getting bigger, so I don't think it's gonna be a possibility. And then I was like, oh my God, my crush is gonna be at this party. I literally felt like I was in high school. I was like, my crush is gonna be at this party. I texted my friend Will, who's the original person who texted me about this. And I was like, oh my God, my crush is going. Like, how the fuck do I go? And then at this point, I really knew. I was like, okay, if I don't go to this party, or if I can't get a way to get in, then that's the universe guiding me towards some, or like protecting me in some kind of way. Maybe I wasn't supposed to see my crush or whatever. Maybe it was just weird. So I really just like surrendered it now, because I was like, I want to fucking go. But like, if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out, and that's for a reason. So Will was like, okay, I'm going to see when I get there, like da da da. So fast forward, I'm like texting this guy, my crush, and I was like, he sent me like a thing to sign up on, and I was just like, okay, whatever, we'll see. So then Will gets to the event, and he's like, you should just pull up, like just try. I mean, the line is long, but just try. So I'm going in feeling really confident. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, let's go. And I text my other friend who texted me, and I was like, let's go to this party in Chelsea, and if not, then we can go to the other parties that you had mentioned. So we all pull up. Mind you, the guy who texted me, Kev, his name is Kev, he was with like 3 other guys. It was 4 guys. So already the ratio was not looking good. But for whatever reason, I was like, I am determined to have the best night ever, and this is going to work. So we call the Uber. We're on our way to this event. And being a girl, sometimes you can finesse situations and lines and what have you. So I get there, and Will is like, Sabrina, just try. Like, just go to the front, just see what you can do. So I did. I went to the front, and as I'm walking up, I'm like, oh my God. And I see my other friend. So I met like a month ago. I was at Lucian with my friend Sasha, and the tables were really close to each other. And we were sitting next to this group of people. And naturally, because the tables are literally like 1 inch apart, we start talking to them, make friends with them, connect with them, and there's that. I show up to this event, and it's literally one of the guys who we met. It's his event. He was working the event, and he was like, Sabrina, oh my God, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm good. Like, holy fuck. Hi. Like, can we get in? And he was like, yeah, who are you with? Like, get these girls' wristbands. Like, this is, and then he introduced me to the other girl working at the door. He was like, oh, this is Kat, blah, blah, blah. Like, Kat, this is Sabrina. Sabrina, like, where are your girls? Let me get them wristbands. Like, effortlessly, seamlessly get in. We cut this entire line and just walk in. And I was like, oh my God. So I just knew, like, with that surrendered energy and with my intention to just have fun, like, it really just all worked out in a way that I could have never even imagined. So anyway, the party was really fun. And then the guy that I have a crush on, so he got there a little bit after me. He texted me like right when I got there. I was like, I'm here. And he was like, okay, I'm on my way. So when he gets here, he texts me, he's like, it's packed outside. Like, what do we do? So I was like, okay, maybe I can like help get you in. The line was just really long, and then I felt weird asking to, and then, oh my God, so then before that, I got in my 4 guy friends as well, and they just let them in. So then I was like, okay, my crush was with like 4 other guys. I was like, I already got in 4 guys. I don't know if I can get in another 5. So they just kind of waited for a bit, but it was wild because my crush was texting me like, yeah, we're going to this event, like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I hope I can get in and this and that. And then I'm the one who got in, and he was like, I can't get in. So that was just, it was fire, I'm not gonna lie. And yeah, so moral of the story is to just surrender, set your intention for the night, whatever that is, and as long as it's bringing you joy and it's not harming someone else, the universe will conspire to support you. So set your intention for the type of night that you want to have, the energy that you want to put out and receive back, surrender to the outcome, and then watch the magic unfold. Okay, now that that story is out of the way, I want to segue into the meat of this podcast episode, which is ADHD, Adderall, and body image. And what triggered this internal conversation for myself that I want to now share with you guys is I was out with my cousin this weekend, and he's a photographer, so he's always taking candid pictures, and he took these pictures of me when I was walking ahead of him. So it was the back of me, and I was wearing a skirt. And the first thing I see is all this cellulite on the back of my legs. And in the beginning, it I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like, ew, why did you take these? But then I realized this is actually a major growth point for myself, because in the past, seeing my cellulite, also I have a very petite frame. I'm 5'1". My legs are muscular. I was never the smallest, skinniest girl. I had a lot of body image issues growing up because I just didn't look like anyone else. You know what I mean? So I had lots of insecurities around that growing up. And it's something that I've obviously been working on and prioritize healing. So I see these pictures and then I'm like, you know what? It's fucking normal to have cellulite, first of all, but secondly, it didn't trigger me the way that it used to. And I really was like, damn, Sabrina, I'm proud of you. The fact that I finally gotten to a point where I genuinely, even though I'm definitely not my smallest, this year I gained weight. I'm not my smallest, but my relationship that I have with my body is the best it's ever been. I finally feel like I'm at a place where I genuinely love and accept myself unconditionally. And the way that ADHD and Adderall relates to this is, so I have ADHD, I'm prescribed Adderall, and I started taking it in high school. And one of the side effects of Adderall is that it suppresses your appetite. So I started noticing, when I started taking it in high school, I lost a lot of weight because not only did it suppress my appetite, it gave me so much energy. So I was going to Barry's classes, I was doing HIIT workouts every single day or multiple times during the week, and then not eating a big amount, or I was eating very restrictively. So I was eating just super, super clean, never splurging, counting every single calorie down to fucking cinnamon. I literally counted the calories of cinnamon. I was insane. And that snowballed for years, honestly, up until a couple years ago. And it really, taking Adderall and then abusing it and only taking it at certain points just to suppress my appetite. During COVID, when we were locked inside during quarantine in the very beginning, March 2020, I continued taking Adderall but my reasoning behind it was not because I wanted to focus on work or anything. It was because I was scared that since we were all cooped up in our apartments, that I would be stuck with my pantry and food and that I would gain a ton of weight. So I literally took Adderall during quarantine to suppress my appetite so that I didn't eat and that I would work out and be productive. Just such a twisted way of thinking. And I honestly, though, I'm really grateful for those experiences because it revealed to me where I still need to heal. But I definitely wasn't ready at that time. At that time, I was like, no, I cannot gain weight. I cannot not like the way that I look. It was everything to me. And until I started realizing Sabrina, this is just not a sustainable way of living or viewing yourself, that's when the healing started to happen. But yeah, so it really all ties in together. And then with ADHD, one of the symptoms or one of the side effects of having ADHD is hyperfixation. So I would hyperfixate on certain foods and then I would restrict everything. It just all kind of ties together in a weird way. But yeah. So, then I would get like hyper fixated on the way that I looked, or hyper fixated on workouts, and just being so wrapped up in that it just like completely changed the way that I thought about myself and thought about my relationship with food and exercising, and not in a good way. So I stopped taking Adderall at one point, and then I started taking it. I stopped for about 7 months, and then I started taking it again because the job that I was working was like really intense, and I was just like, you know what, I'm prescribed this, like I'm just gonna use it. And it helped. It does help. Obviously, like I have ADHD, it really fucking helps. But then I noticed myself getting into a pattern of abusing it and taking it just to suppress my appetite or to work out. So then I got real with myself, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna stop taking it again. And this was my most recent cutoff. And during that time period, I really intuitively listened to my body. So I started eating more, and I started working out less. I wasn't doing as many HIIT workouts. Really wasn't doing many HIIT workouts at all, because my energy was like, my adrenal glands were really fucked up. My energy was all fucked up because I also relied on Adderall to give me energy. So I literally felt like a zombie. I was hungry all the time. And so anyway, the combination of eating more and working out less, and then also doing less intense workouts, naturally resulted in me gaining weight. And this was the first time in my life where I was like, okay, I'm gaining weight, but I'm also the healthiest that I've ever been. And I really, this is what triggered it. So I was manifesting, I was like writing down all the qualities that I would want in a partner. And it was like creative and generous and hardworking and talented and loving, caring, all those things. And then one of them was loves me and accepts me unconditionally. So I write down this whole list of things that I would want in a partner. And then I start rereading the list, because when you want to manifest something or like a person, you also have to make sure that you are everything on that list too. Because it's like, okay, why would this person with all these amazing traits want to be with you if you're only like 2 of them? You know what I mean? Like it has to be equal. So I was getting real with myself, and I looked at this list of traits, and when it got down to loving myself unconditionally, I was like, well, I don't. Like I can't confidently say that I love and accept myself unconditionally, because I've gained weight and I'm insecure. I don't feel good about myself. My self-talk was terrible. And I realized that I only loved and accepted myself under the condition that my body looked a certain way. And that's really, that reframe is what triggered this like new willingness inside of myself to love and accept my body unconditionally, no matter what. And I also just started looking at it as, why do I feel so attached to my body image? Why? And I realized like I was deriving a sense of self-worth and value based on how I look. And I think that has a lot to do with the way our society is, and like how we view women, and how we place such an emphasis and importance on the way that women look. So I just got super clear on like, okay, why do I have this attachment to my self-worth being tied to the way that I look? So the big shift in my mindset that I made was, instead of affirming things like, oh my God, I love my body, I'm perfect, whatever, because at that point, I didn't believe that. It was not the truth. So affirming something like that would actually create more resistance to it, which would be counterintuitive. So instead of affirming that, I started saying, I am willing to love and accept my body unconditionally. And then that willingness is what started this transformation. Because as long as you have the willingness to want to love and accept yourself, which, keep in mind, I didn't have that 2 years ago. Like when I was taking Adderall to suppress my appetite during quarantine, I didn't have that conscious willingness to want to accept myself no matter what. I had the willingness to do anything I could to maintain the same weight and to continue getting smaller. But I noticed that no matter how small I was, no matter how fit I was, I look back at those pictures or videos and I remember thinking in my head, that I remember looking at those and thinking, I'm still not good enough. I also came to realize that your sense of self-worth and value is not tied to how you look. It is directly tied to how you choose to love and respect yourself. So when I started realizing like, okay, I'm not taking Adderall anymore. I'm nourishing myself with foods that make me feel good. I'm doing intuitive exercising, like doing yoga instead of doing a HIIT workout. I'm doing things that make me feel good. That's a form of self-respect. And the more I started to respect myself, the more I started to love myself, because self-respect is a form of self-love and vice versa. So it all kind of went hand in hand, but I think really affirming and using that wording, like I affirm my willingness to love and accept myself unconditionally. Because when you have that willingness and you have that desire, that is enough to support you in whatever you want to do. And then making sure that your actions are aligning with that. Because it would be one thing if I was affirming my willingness to love and accept myself, meanwhile I'm still starving myself. There's a disconnect there. And then when you have that kind of disconnect, it's your communication to the universe is all wonky. Your energy, your vibration, everything is not aligned. So it can't be supported. But when you affirm that willingness and then you start wanting to accept yourself, and then you do the things that show yourself that you respect yourself and that you love yourself, things just start changing. Like I can't even describe it, but the way that I view myself is so, like I literally changed my neurochemistry. Like I've changed my neural pathways and the thought patterns that I have about myself. And it didn't happen overnight, but with consistency over a few months, the way that I just think now is completely different. And I'm so grateful for this shift, because for the longest time, I never thought that it could happen. I never thought I would get to a place where I wouldn't be my smallest. I would have cellulite on my legs and my arms jiggle. I never thought I would be at a place where I could say like, I'm okay with that. And I still love myself and I still think that I'm beautiful and I accept my body for what it is. So that really helped. And another thing that also helped is recognizing or seeing yourself, your physical body, as a vessel for love, for light, for joy, for fun. When you stop seeing yourself as just a physical body, and this is where it gets like a little bit spiritual, and instead see yourself as a vessel, as an instrument to bring light and love and joy, kindness, compassion, wherever you go, you recognize that your power lies within you. Like it gives you this whole new empowered way of viewing yourself as more than just a body, but as an entire energy being, that when you show up places, no matter what your body looks like, you have the capacity to be an instrument and vessel for all of these amazing qualities that make people feel good in your presence. Even if you do gain a few pounds or whatever, people are not going to treat you differently. They're actually going to treat you better and treat you with more love, and people are going to start reflecting love back to you because you see yourself as this light, as this beam of light and love, and that is what you are bringing places. And that in itself is so much more powerful than just showing up with like a sexy bod and that being what you're known for. And that was another thing that I also struggled with, is like only being known, like for a while, I would only post thirst traps. I would only post things that were like suggestive or provocative because I was so insecure. I literally derived my entire sense of self-worth off of how I looked. And then the more that I received this validation from the way that I looked, but in such like a, not from an empowered place, it was from a very insecure place, the more I relied on this external validation in order to feel good about myself, which is no way to live. Because if you are looking outside of you to feel a certain way or receive a certain feeling, such as love, acceptance, happiness, joy, wholeness, completeness, if you are looking outside of you to feel that way, you're never going to be happy, because anything outside of you can be taken away from you, versus looking to yourself and feeling validated within yourself, because you know yourself, you know your values, you know your worth, you know your energy, you know your soul. you can turn inwards in order to get those feelings, because you know that it all comes from within you. And living in that way, knowing that you don't have to rely on anything outside of you to feel something, and you can just turn within and know that you have all those feelings, that is true power. That's happiness. That's joy. That is love. And that is just a more empowered way of living. And I just really encourage you all to try and adopt any of these principles or thought patterns, because the way that it's improved my life has been so meaningful and fulfilling and nourishing. And I just want someone else to feel that way. I don't know if I'm going to talk about it in this episode, but I would love to create more of a discussion around ADHD and the way that it affects you, because I've had ADHD like my entire life, but I never really knew how to cope with it, or I never knew that there were certain things that I would do that were common for people with ADHD. And learning that I was not the only one who does this. Like my family, especially my mom's side, they're all Korean, they're all like super clean, super organized, and they're just like very type A, and that is not how I am. So growing up in an environment where everyone was this one way and I was like a little bit more messy and disorganized and forgetful, it made me feel like there was something really wrong with me. And now as I'm older and I'm starting to do more research and learn about myself more, I'm learning that it is normal and there are ways to help it. But I think the biggest thing for me was not feeling like I was alone or feeling like there was something wrong with me, because growing up I always felt like there was something wrong. And I would love to be able to make someone else feel validated or seen or heard, or just normalized, like with certain behaviors that you may have felt shame about. Because I think just the more self-awareness you have and the more acceptance, like clearing all that shame away, just helps deepen your sense of self-love and self-acceptance and self-awareness. And the more self-awareness you have, I really think that is like the biggest superpower. So I would love to talk more about that in another episode if you guys are interested. So that concludes today's episode. I hope you guys liked it and got something out of it. Let me know if there's anything you want me to discuss or talk about, and I will be more than happy to do that. So thank you for listening, and I will see you next week. Bye.